There's another Zen story that's like that too. It takes place a long time ago in China, and there's this layman. So he's not a monk, a layman. His name is Han Ang, and he's this very he's one of Zen Master Majo's best students, and he lives in a village. And he must have been kind of a guy with a good disposition and everything, because people always used to say to him, they used to say, "Oh, you're so lucky. You must be very happy." And Hanang, he would always answer back. He would always say, "What is happiness? What is sadness?" So he had this horse. He had this horse that he really loved. And he used to ride it around all the time. And then one day his horse ran away. And so the people in the village said to him, they said, "Oh my gosh, you lost your horse. Your horse ran away. You must be so sad. You must be really upset." And he would just say to them, he would say, "What is happiness? What is sadness?" And usually, if somebody's attached to something, like they really love their horse and it goes away, they're really sad, but not Hanang. He always just said, "What is happiness? What is sadness?" Then one day, he got another horse. And this horse was it was a really good horse. It wasn't like the usual kind of horses that people in the village had. This was a really, really smart horse. It wasn't obstinate. It wasn't cantankerous like a lot of horses are. And so his son, Hanang's son, really loved this horse, and he would ride it every day. And so one day when he was riding the horse, he had a really bad accident, and he fell off the horse and he broke his leg. And that was terrible. The people at the village said, "Oh my gosh, Hanang, your son, he's hurt himself. That's bad in those days in the 8th century to break your leg, because they didn't have medicine the way that we had it. I mean, this boy's probably going to be crippled for the rest of his life." And he's Hanang's kind of insurance, his old age, his long-term care policy, because if, his son would work and earn the money and buy the food for Hanang when he gets old. So now his son has fallen off the horse and broken his leg. Hanang only said, "What is happiness? What is sadness?" A short time later, what happens? China starts to have these big wars, and the North is fighting the South, and the army marches through town, and they take all the young men. All the young men in the village have to go into the army. But Hanang's son didn't have to go because his leg was broken. He got to stay home. He got to stay home and take care of help his family. He could still walk enough to work in the garden and do some things like that. So it was and everybody said, "Oh, you're so lucky, Hanang. Your son is here with you." And he just goes, "What is happiness? What is sadness?" That was his teaching. That was his teaching. It was kind of, if you look at it in a certain way, it was kind of his enough mind teaching. What is happiness? What is sadness? It's like, how do you look at these things that happen in your life? They're coming and they're going, and they're coming and going. And if you attach to them, then you have a problem and you have suffering. But you can see from this story that these bad things, like losing your horse, you get sometimes, that's very sad, but maybe you get a better horse. Your son falls off the horse and breaks his leg, but maybe he doesn't have to go to war. And it's like that in our lives too. Those of us who have lived many decades, you can, if you look at your life kind of from decade to decade, you can kind of see these things that you thought were so terrible and were just like the end, and life is over. And then 10 years later, you have a different view of it. You've kind of digested what happened to you, and it's been what's made room for you to grow as a person.